Most people assume roosters crow at dawn just because the sun comes up. But the real reason is more fascinating. And if you're raising chickens or thinking about becoming more self-sufficient, understanding this behavior can actually help you manage your flock better and create a healthier, more productive homestead. In this video, I'm sharing 5 science-backed reasons why roosters crow and what each one tells you about your bird's health, safety, and natural rhythms. If you're someone who values sustainable living, raising your own food, or understanding the animals that support your family, this channel is for you. I post calm, practical farming wisdom like this every week, and subscribing means you won't have to search for answers again. They'll just show up. I'm really glad you found your way here. Let's start. One, the biological clock, nature's built-in alarm. This one matters because it solves a quiet problem most homesteaders face, wondering if your rooster's crowing pattern is normal, without needing expensive vet visits or guesswork. The reason this works is simple. It respects how real biology actually functions. Roosters have an internal circadian rhythm that triggers crowing about 2 hours before sunrise, regardless of light. Think about it this way. Your rooster's body has a built-in clock that's been fine-tuned over thousands of years of evolution. This biological timer doesn't wait for the sun to peek over the horizon. It anticipates dawn based on internal hormonal cycles, specifically the release of testosterone that peaks in the early morning hours. This is why you'll hear that first crow even on overcast mornings when you can barely see any light breaking through. The rooster isn't responding to what he sees, he's responding to what his body is programmed to do at specific intervals. Research from Japanese scientists studying this phenomenon found that roosters kept in completely dark rooms still crowed at their regular morning time. Their internal clock kept ticking without any external light cues whatsoever. This matters for you as a livestock owner because it tells you something important. If your rooster suddenly stops crowing at his usual time, or the timing shifts dramatically, it could signal a health issue affecting his hormonal balance or circadian rhythm. To start understanding your rooster's timing, all you need is a basic observation log for 3 to 5 mornings. If you already have a notebook or even just your phone's notes app, you're ready. What you're doing is simply noting the exact time of the first crow each morning. No optimizing, no overthinking, just a quick timestamp when you hear that first call. You might notice he crows at 5:15 on Monday, 5:12 on Tuesday, and 5:18 on Wednesday. That consistency, usually within a 15-minute window, tells you his internal clock is functioning properly. To keep tracking useful, focus on just one thing. Check the pattern weekly. That's enough to spot health changes before they become serious problems. Over time, this doesn't just help you predict morning routines. It changes how your homestead feels. Less surprise wake-ups, more understanding of your animals, a little more control over your sustainable lifestyle. You'll start to anticipate when he'll sound off, which helps if you need to plan around it for neighbors or your own sleep schedule. You'll also develop an ear for what's normal, so when something changes, you'll notice immediately. A small thing that makes this easier is keeping the log by your bedside. You don't need it, but it smooths the process when you're half awake and hear that first crow. Instead of trying to remember the time later, you can jot it down in the moment and roll back over. This simple habit gives you a baseline understanding of your rooster's health that most backyard chicken keepers never develop. And here's what makes this even more valuable for your investment in self-sufficient living. When you understand that crowing is hormonal and biological, not just reactive, you realize trying to stop it completely is fighting nature. Instead, you can work with it. Position sleeping areas away from the co-op. Use the predictable timing to your advantage for chore scheduling. And most importantly, recognize that a rooster with a strong, consistent morning crow is showing you he's healthy, vital, and doing exactly what nature designed him to do, protecting and organizing your flock. 2. Territory protection. The guardian instinct. This one matters because it solves a quiet problem most small-scale farmers live with, not knowing if predators are around, without adding expensive security systems or constant worry. The reason this works is simple. It respects how flock dynamics actually function. Roosters crow to announce territory boundaries and warn off predators or rival roosters. This behavior isn't about making noise for attention. it's about survival. When your rooster crows throughout the day, especially with sudden intensity, he's broadcasting a clear message to anything within earshot. This territory is occupied. This flock is protected. Back off. Think of it as a natural alarm system that doesn't need batteries or monthly fees. Hawks circling overhead, foxes prowling nearby, neighborhood cats getting too close, even unfamiliar dogs wandering into view can all trigger defensive crowing. The fascinating part is that roosters adjust their crow intensity based on the perceived threat level. A casual territorial reminder crow sounds different from an urgent warning crow. As you spend time with your birds, you'll start recognizing these distinctions. The urgent crow is usually louder, more frequent, and has a sharper edge to it. Other flock members respond accordingly, either moving toward cover or clustering closer to the rooster for protection. This protective instinct doesn't depend on aggression or training. It's pure biological programming. This works even when you're not watching, which is why free-range chickens have survived for centuries with roosters as their primary defense system. To benefit from this natural security, all you need is one healthy rooster per 8 to 12 hens. If you already have that ratio, you're protected. Too many roosters creates competition and fighting. Too few hens per rooster can lead to overmating and stressed hens. But that sweet spot of one rooster for every 8 to 12 hens gives you optimal protection without chaos. What you're doing is simply letting him patrol and crow at perceived threats. No training required, no interference needed. Your rooster already knows his job. He'll position himself where he has good sight lines, often on elevated perches or fence posts during the day. He'll keep one eye on the sky for aerial predators and scan the ground for terrestrial threats. When he crows from these vantage points, he's not being randomly noisy, he's actively working. To keep the system functioning smoothly, focus on just one thing. Provide clear sight lines around the coop. That's enough for effective monitoring. If your coop is surrounded by tall grass, dense bushes, or clutter that blocks visibility, your rooster can't do his job properly. He'll become more agitated, crow more frequently out of stress, and the hens won't feel secure. But when you maintain trimmed perimeter zones and keep the area around your coop relatively open, your rooster can see approaching threats early and respond appropriately. Over time, this doesn't just reduce predator losses. It changes how your investment feels. Less fear for your birds when you're away at work. More confidence in your setup knowing there's a living guardian on duty. A little more peace of mind about your family's food source and the money you've invested in quality birds and infrastructure. A small thing that strengthens this protective behavior is keeping roosters away from main windows if your coop is near your house. You don't need this adjustment, but it reduces early morning noise complaints from neighbors or family members while still allowing the rooster to guard effectively. Position the coop where his territorial crowing protects the flock but doesn't blast directly into bedrooms. This simple placement consideration lets you maintain the security benefits without the lifestyle friction. And here's what most people don't realize about this territorial crowing. It's not just protecting against predators, it's also maintaining social order within your property. If you have multiple flocks or a neighbor has chickens nearby, roosters will use crowing to establish boundaries and reduce actual physical confrontations. This vocal territoriality prevents injuries and keeps stress levels low across all your birds, which directly impacts egg production, health, and longevity. 3. Flock communication, the social coordinator. This one matters because it solves a quiet challenge most backyard chicken keepers face, keeping hens calm and organized without constant hands-on management. The reason this works is simple. It respects how social animals actually function. Roosters crow throughout the day to coordinate feeding times, signal all clear after a scare, and maintain flock hierarchy. What you're witnessing when you hear different types of crows at various times isn't random vocalization. It's sophisticated social communication that keeps your entire flock functioning as a cohesive unit. Think of your rooster as the operations manager of your homestead. When he finds a particularly good food source, he'll do a specific food call that brings hens running. After a threat passes and danger is over, he'll issue an all-clear crow that lets everyone know it's safe to resume normal activity. During settling down time at dusk, his crows help guide stragglers back to the coop. Each of these vocalizations serves a distinct purpose in maintaining group cohesion and efficiency. This communication doesn't depend on human intervention. The birds self-regulate through these established vocal cues. This works even when you're away at work or running errands, which is why productive flocks run smoothly without constant supervision. Your rooster is essentially managing the daily operations, keeping everyone on schedule and maintaining order. To support healthy communication, all you need is adequate space and roosting spots. If you already have 4 square feet per bird in the coop and 10 square feet per bird in the run, you're set up for success. Crowding interferes with natural communication patterns and creates stress that disrupts the social hierarchy. But with proper space, your rooster can move freely, position himself strategically, and use his voice effectively to coordinate flock behavior. What you're doing is simply observing which crows signal feeding, danger, or settling down. No micromanaging required, no overthinking patterns. Just spend a few days watching how your hens respond to different crows. You'll start noticing that certain vocalizations trigger specific behaviors. The feeding call brings immediate convergence. The alarm call sends everyone scattering. The evening gathering call moves birds toward roosting areas. Understanding these patterns helps you work with your flock's natural rhythms rather than against them. To keep harmony functioning well, focus on just one thing. Ensure fresh water and food are accessible when he crows morning signals. That's enough for smooth daily rhythms. When your rooster issues his morning territory announcement and feeding calls, having resources ready means the flock can settle into their routine quickly and calmly. If they have to wait or compete for limited resources, stress increases and his coordinating role becomes less effective. Over time, this doesn't just improve egg production, though, it definitely does help with consistency and quality. It changes how your homestead feels. Less chaos among birds with everyone knowing their place and routine. More natural order that's satisfying to observe. A little more pride watching your self-sufficient system work exactly as nature designed it to function. You realize you're not just raising chickens, you're facilitating a complex social system that's been refined over millennia. A small thing that helps is noting which crows precede feeding frenzies. You don't need this observation skill, but it helps you predict when to refill feeders efficiently. If you notice your rooster issues a particular call around 3 p.m. every day before the hens rush to the feeder, you can proactively refill just before that time. This prevents competition, reduces waste from spilled feed during crowding, and keeps the flock calmer. And here's the deeper benefit that impacts your family's sustainable lifestyle. A well-coordinated flock is a productive flock. When hens feel secure because their rooster is communicating effectively, when they're not stressed by confusion or poor organization, they lay more consistently. They're healthier because stress is minimized. They live longer because the entire system runs efficiently. This means better return on your investment in feed, housing, and time. It means more reliable food production for your family. And it means you're truly working with nature rather than constantly fighting against it or trying to impose artificial control. If this is helpful, give it a like. It tells YouTube to share this with people who need practical homesteading advice. And I'm curious, do you currently have a rooster, or are you considering adding one to your flock? Drop it in the comments. I actually read them and love hearing about your sustainable living journey. Knowing what stage you're at helps me create content that matches where you are right now, whether you're just starting out or you've been raising chickens for years. 4. Environmental triggers. Reading the weather. This one matters because it solves something most livestock owners miss entirely, using your rooster as a natural weather indicator without buying expensive monitoring equipment or subscription weather services. The reason this works is simple. It respects how birds sense atmospheric changes that our human bodies can't detect. Roosters crow more frequently before storms, temperature drops, or barometric pressure shifts. They're essentially equipped with biological sensors that pick up on environmental changes hours before we feel anything different. This ability isn't magic or folklore. It's measurable physiology. Birds have extremely sensitive inner ear structures that detect even slight changes in air pressure. They also sense shifts in electromagnetic fields that precede weather changes. When a storm system is approaching, even if the sky still looks clear, your rooster's body is already registering the difference. He responds by increasing his crowing frequency, often becoming more active and vocal than normal. Some farmers report their roosters crow almost continuously in the hours before major weather events. something that seems excessive until you understand they're responding to real atmospheric data. This doesn't depend on technology or weather apps. Their biology detects what scientific instruments measure, but we can't personally feel until conditions actually change. This works even in unpredictable climates where weather can shift rapidly, which is why experienced farmers have watched their birds for generations. Before modern forecasting, livestock behavior was one of the most reliable indicators of incoming weather. To use this natural alert system effectively, all you need is awareness of normal crowing frequency. If you already spend time near your coop during regular chores, you're ready to start noticing patterns. You don't need special training or equipment, just familiarity with what's typical for your rooster. What you're doing is simply noting when crowing increases unusually outside the normal morning and evening peaks. No weather apps needed for comparison, no complicated tracking systems, just awareness. When you hear your rooster sounding off repeatedly during mid-afternoon when he's normally quiet, that's your cue that something environmental is changing. To keep this useful for farm management, focus on just one thing. Take basic precautions when you notice the pattern change. That's enough to protect your investment in livestock and infrastructure. Maybe it means securing loose equipment, closing coop vents, bringing vulnerable birds into more sheltered areas, or simply being alert that weather is coming so you can respond quickly when it hits. Over time, this doesn't just help you prepare for weather events, it changes how connected you feel to your land and animals. Less surprise damage from storms you didn't see coming. More respect for natural wisdom that existed long before technology. A little more confidence in your farming instincts as you learn to read these biological signals. You start understanding that your homestead is an integrated system where everything communicates. Your rooster isn't just livestock, he's part of your environmental monitoring infrastructure. A small thing that improves accuracy is correlating crow patterns with actual weather for a month. You don't need to do this, but it builds trust in the system. Keep a simple log where you note unusual crowing activity and what weather follows within 6 to 12 hours. After a few weeks, you'll see clear patterns emerge. Maybe your rooster goes into high alert mode 8 hours before thunderstorms. Maybe he's particularly vocal before cold fronts. These patterns become reliable indicators you can act on. And here's what makes this truly valuable for sustainable living. Modern weather forecasting is excellent for general predictions, but it's not always accurate for your specific microclimate. Your property might sit in a valley that gets hit differently than the forecast predicts. Or you might be on a hillside with different wind patterns. Your rooster is forecasting for exactly where you are, not for the general region. He's giving you hyperlocal data that no app can match. This means you can make better decisions about animal care, crop protection, and infrastructure security. When you combine modern forecasting with natural indicators from your flock, you get the most complete weather picture possible for your specific homestead. 5. Health and vitality signals, the wellness indicator. This one matters because it solves an expensive problem most chicken owners face, catching health issues early, without constant vet bills or medical training that takes years to develop. The reason this works is simple. It respects how healthy animals actually behave and sound. A strong, consistent crow signals good respiratory health, proper nutrition, and hormonal balance. Think about human voices for comparison. When someone has a cold, their voice sounds different. When someone is exhausted, their speech lacks energy. The same principle applies to roosters. His crow is a direct reflection of his internal health status. A healthy rooster produces a crow that's loud, clear, and sustained. It has power behind it. You can hear it from a distance. There's no raspiness, wheezing, or weak trailing off at the end. This vocal strength requires healthy lungs, clear airways, a strong diaphragm, and proper hormonal levels, particularly testosterone. When any of these systems is compromised, the crow changes noticeably. This doesn't require blood tests or laboratory analysis. You can hear vitality in the sound itself. This works as a daily wellness check that happens automatically every morning, which is why it's life-changing for flock management. You're getting health information without having to chase, catch, or stress your rooster with examinations. He's volunteering the data every time he crows. To monitor rooster health effectively, all you need is familiarity with his normal crow sound and frequency. If you've had him a few weeks, you're ready to start using this indicator. Every rooster has a slightly different voice, just like people. Some are deeper, some higher pitched, some crow 5 times a morning, others 20. What matters isn't comparison to other roosters. What matters is consistency with his own baseline pattern. What you're doing is simply listening for changes. Weaker volume than usual, raspy quality that wasn't there before, reduced frequency where he's suddenly quiet when he'd normally be vocal. No complicated diagnostics required. No overthinking subtle variations that might just be daily differences. You're listening for clear changes that persist over multiple days. To catch problems early before they become serious, focus on just one thing. Compare today's crow to last week's pattern. That's enough for early intervention. If you notice his crow has lost power, sounds strained, or he's crowing half as much as normal, those are early warning signs. Respiratory infections, nutritional deficiencies, parasites, or stress can all manifest in vocal changes before you see other obvious symptoms. Catching these shifts early means you can adjust feed, check for environmental stressors, or consult a vet while the issue is still minor and treatable. Over time, this doesn't just save money on emergency vet visits, though the cost savings are real and significant. It changes how your family's food security feels. Less fear of losing birds unexpectedly, more proactive care that keeps your flock healthy long-term. A little more pride in raising healthy, productive livestock that thrives under your management. You develop confidence that you're not just keeping chickens alive. You're maintaining optimal health through attentive observation. A small thing that strengthens this monitoring is recording a 10-second audio clip when he sounds off normally. You don't need this reference recording, but it gives you a precise baseline for comparison if you start suspecting changes. Later, when you're unsure if his crow sounds different or you're just imagining it, you can play back that recording and compare directly. This removes doubt and helps you make confident decisions about whether intervention is needed. And here's why this matters so much for your sustainable lifestyle and investment in self-sufficient food production. Veterinary care for chickens is often expensive relative to the bird's replacement cost, which puts owners in difficult positions. Do you spend $100 treating a bird worth $20? With early detection through voice monitoring, you catch issues when they're simpler and cheaper to address. Maybe it's just adjusting diet, adding supplements, or improving ventilation. These low-cost interventions prevent expensive problems later. Beyond economics, there's the emotional investment. These birds are part of your homestead, your daily routine, your family's connection to where food comes from. Keeping them healthy through attentive observation honors that relationship and ensures your sustainable food system remains reliable for the long term. Priority bonus tip. Here's something most small-scale farmers miss, and it matters more than adding another chicken care routine to your already busy schedule. Instead of trying to stop crowing or constantly fight against natural rooster behavior, position your coop strategically to work with it. That single change often makes rooster ownership feel easier without fighting nature or sacrificing flock security. Place your coop away from bedrooms where morning crowing disrupts sleep, but keep it visible from a kitchen or living room window where you can monitor flock behavior while going about your day. This positioning lets you benefit from the guardian instinct, the flock coordination, and the health monitoring we've talked about, while minimizing the lifestyle friction that makes some people regret getting roosters. Consider prevailing wind direction too. If your coop is upwind from your house, sound carries more strongly towards you. Downwind placement naturally muffles the sound without requiring soundproofing or other expensive modifications. Think about neighbor relationships as well. If you're in a suburban setting where roosters are allowed but neighbors are close, positioning the coop on the far side of your property, perhaps with a shed or garage between the coop and neighboring homes, shows consideration while protecting your right to keep roosters. Many neighborhood conflicts about roosters aren't really about the crowing itself. They're about feeling like the owner doesn't care about the impact. Thoughtful placement demonstrates respect while maintaining your sustainable living goals. This isn't about eliminating natural behavior. It's about intelligent design that lets roosters be roosters while fitting into your life smoothly. That's what makes homesteading sustainable long-term, working with nature instead of constantly battling it. You don't need a commercial farm to benefit from these insights. You just need one steady commitment to understanding your animals and their natural behaviors. Pick one observation technique from today and try it this week imperfectly. Maybe you start logging morning crow times. Maybe you just listen more carefully for health changes. Maybe you observe how your rooster coordinates feeding. That's how real homesteading wisdom starts, with small, consistent attention rather than trying to learn everything at once. And if you want more calm, practical advice for sustainable living and self-sufficient farming, subscribe to Zero to Purpose. This channel is for people who want to raise their own food and live more intentionally without pressure, industrial methods, or burnout. We focus on what actually works in real life, not idealized homesteading that only exists in magazines. Thanks for spending this time here learning about the fascinating biology and behavior behind something as simple as a rooster's crow. I'll see you in the next one, where we'll continue building your confident, sustainable homestead one practical insight at a time.